Welcome to the Jboy Show, hosted by Jake Crain, the fastest growing sports show in the nation.
I'm Coach Hugh Freeze.
This is Super Bowl champion Brandon Graham.
Hey, this is DJ Shockley, and you're watching.
And thanks for watching the Jboy Show.
What's up, everybody? We are here at Radio Row at SEC Media Days with one of my favorite guys to talk football and really life with, co-owner of one of the most successful businesses I've ever seen. Elon Musk, you can have yours. Richard Branson, you can have yours. Billy Liucci from Texas, you guys are on fire.
Man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Jake. It's been a fun off season. The fun started last year once we found out we're actually playing football, and A&M struggled with Vandy, and they took a 4-touchdown loss in Tuscaloosa. Had number 4 Florida coming in. Ever since then, business was growing. Now I'd say business is booming, and I just mean Texas A&M football. Yeah. And what that means to the excitement of the fan base. And you know how this goes in the SEC. We're entering year 10 now in the conference. The crazy thing is A&M was only in the Big 12 for 16 years. So, I mean, we're well past the halfway point of A&M in the SEC. So I feel like we've gotten accustomed to this, and Aggie fans are hungry for a championship. So the conversations have been aplenty on the Texags forums, and they've actually been more positive than any time I can remember, save maybe heading into that 2013 season. Johnny and Mike Evans and Jake Matt, that second year coming off that breakout year one under Kevin Sumlin.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't even think that Texas A&M is like that came in the SEC. I think it's like, all right, they're an SEC team, and that's something again and the more success you have, the more success you have. And Billy, me and you and Nuno, we talk about A&M, we talk about the quarterback battles. What's one position group or something that may not get talked about enough that you think is going to be vital to A&M's success? Just that pops off the top of your head.
You know what? I mean, I think the most pivotal is going to be the O-line, but that's kind of obvious. They lose 4 starters up front. It was such a key piece last year. The two that people don't talk about, actually, Greg McElroy just brought it up, and I love it, and I've told you this. When you guys that have to cover all 14 teams, it's easy for me to know what's going on. And I was really impressed, and I'm not impressed. Greg does his homework. I expected it, but he dropped something that a lot of people haven't. Wide receiver and linebacker. They return Andre White, who looked interception in the bowl game, looked good, has looked good for 2 years. But Aaron Hansford as a super senior, he's actually in his 6th year and a returning starter at linebacker. And then they've got depth behind him. Elko likes to field 2 at the same time. Yeah. And they've got a lot of guys behind that people outside of College Station haven't heard of yet. Edgerrin Cooper, Chris Russell out of Tennessee, Edgerrin Cooper out of Louisiana, Terrion Lee out of Florida. So they've got these guys. White's from Pennsylvania. Hansford is from D.C., Maryland. It's crazy to think that all those linebackers are out of state, and it will go down a whole nother rabbit hole because I feel like linebackers in Texas, this is the first year in a long time there's been a lot of depth. Yeah. And A&M will probably go 3 for 3 in state, but linebacker, I think that's really underrated, and they're going to be playing behind a great defensive front, so they'll be freed up to make plays. But wide receiver is, I think, the biggest wild card on this team because I think they'll be good. I also think they could be great. Yeah. You've got Ainias Smith to me, he's an all-SEC contender, all-purpose back. I'm surprised he wasn't on the first team. He reminds me a great deal of Kadarius Toney from last year. I think they're very similar, and he's gotten it done 2 years in a row. But Chase Lane, underrated. He was just a freshman last year, 50-plus yard touchdown against Mississippi State. A game-saving catch on 3rd down against Auburn. A huge play in that bowl game before halftime when the A&M. He did it all year. Yeah. He did that all year. Hez Jones is kind of the same as a senior. But the key to me is Damon Demas and Caleb Chapman on the outside. Demas, the 5-star recruit, he didn't catch a pass last year, but his playing time increased down the stretch. He had a great spring. Chapman, the last time we saw him, he was lighting up that Florida secondary, torn ACL.
Scoring on a touchdown.
And I know Jimbo was pretty devastated after that injury. Yeah. And for him to be, he's back. He's all the way back. If you have him on one side, you can work Demas in. Demas is a 6'3" guy that runs sub 4.4 and plays 10 feet in the air. So with that combination to go with everything you've got back and what that would mean for Weidemeyer and Anais Smith in the middle of the field, not to mention the flexibility you could have with a guy like Chase Lane, who was cutting up Florida in the slot. That's what he really is. He had to move outside out of necessity, so it'll give him some flexibility as a veteran. That receiver core could be really good, and the people that I'm noticing that are kind of giving it credit as one of the upper level ones in the SEC, I'm not saying the best. The ones that are giving it credit, I'm really kind of checking those guys and saying they know what they're talking about, because there's not yet a Jefferson or, like the guys at LSU on the outside, Jamar Chase, or any of those guys at Bama. You don't have that yet, but as a core, as a unit, this is a really, really good group.
It is, and to be honest with you, I don't think Damian Craig got enough credit for what he did with that wide receiver group last year that was absolutely devastated by injuries. I remember watching Chapman go down, literally catching a post, I think, for a touchdown, tears his ACL, literally in the middle of the end zone.
You also had Jamon Osmond, a senior starter, where he would have been a fourth-year starter, opt out, and then Cam Buckley tore his ACL. Those are two guys that could have started. They were lost before the season. Then you lost Chapman. Then you had to reshuffle. Demas wasn't ready yet. I think he is now, but to start last season, the hope was, and he wasn't. So, I mean, there were a lot of moving parts there, not to mention at tight end, you lost your second string, your third string on the same day of fall camp.
It's tough, and I'm excited to watch Cup. You talk about Demas, a guy that got some experience, and you look at the potential across the board for what it could be. The quarterback battle is going to be interesting. But, Billy, my last question for you. You tell me to kick rocks if you want. Billy Liucci from Texas. What are your thoughts on the now you get a penalty for horns down? Because if you get a penalty for horns down, how is it not a penalty if it's horns up?
I thought you're talking to somebody we've dealt with this our whole.
Oh yeah, that's why I could not lead.
I didn't grow up an Aggie or a Longhorn. I was a college football fan. I had moved from New York. I had no family that had gone to college in Texas at all, so I had no allegiance. So I just grew up watching college football. The horns up, horns down. I've watched my friends all through elementary and junior high fight over it. But here's my take. I thought Steve Sarkisian had a perfect chance just to say, we don't give a damn.
Yeah.
Penalize.
Why?
Do not penalize anyone for doing a horns down, because we're going to handle that on the field. And we're not a soft program where somebody coming up and doing a hand gesture is going to affect us. In any way, on social media, on the field, in the locker. Like, it doesn't bother us. Do whatever the hell you want. We're coming to win football games. And I thought it was a great opportunity to kind of step out and say that. It still makes me wonder about the culture there. And they've always been thought of as country club and soft. And Mac Brown broke them out of that.
He did.
The legend, Mac. I mean, look.
Unbelievable.
In that 15 years, trust me, as Aggies, that'll come up every 2 seconds. That's their fallback, their crutch. Mac Brown, Vince Young. When's the last? They say about A&M, 1939. Had it not been for 05, Texas, that blue blood program hadn't won one in 50 years, and you can't take away 05. That was one of those Texas teams that made even this Aggie sit there and like them and respect them and go, that's a real quarterback.
Vince
That's a real team. What an accomplishment to win that game, one of the best ever. That's all good. But around that, they weren't good in the 80s for the most part. They weren't good in the 90s until Matt got there. 99 was kind of their breakthrough. They haven't been good for the last decade. What they're not getting is they haven't been good, save one coach since Darrell Royal, and 1 decade out of the last 4. They want to go historically with all that. To me, it's just like, listen, win now. They tell you they're going to get Urban Meyer. They tell you they're going to get Nick Saban. They get neither. They end up with Charlie Strong, Tom Herman, Steve Sarkisian. I like Sark. I think that's going to be a good hire for them. I just thought that was a moment for him to be able to, kind of instill some toughness. Like, we don't give a damn about this stuff. Stop talking about it. Don't penalize anyone, and let's go. I think he's going to end up being a good hire for them. I think the timing is right for that, but he's got to work, because somebody tweeted this the other day, and it was a Longhorn, and I agree. if he doesn't, they risk becoming Nebraska.
Yeah,
Whoever
that's
thought
true.
that Nebraska would go this long without doing a damn thing?
Yeah.
Texas is on 10 years now. Now, in fairness, I say that 10 years ago they did something A&M never did. They played for a national title, 11 years, whatever. But they have not been good since. They weren't good before. So it is a situation where Sark's got a hit. I really believe Sark's got a hit. I thought they missed a golden opportunity when they hired Herman. Was it Herman or Strong? Whoever it was, they should have hired James Franklin.
I want to say that was.
He was at Vandy. It was when he was at Vandy. I felt like they should have done that back. It was because it was It was when Charlie Strong. I thought James Franklin. Hell, they should have done it this time.
Yeah.
You want to go break the bank and say you're going to hire Urban? There's clearly enough money around to even go hire James Franklin. I think they've missed a couple of really good fits over the years. I do think Sark's going to fit because he gets the whole style thing. I think he's going to get the substance thing as well. Mm-hmm. I just think that was an opportunity for him to kind of send a message, and he missed it. And as a result, we've all had fun with the memes and the Twitter conversation and everything, and they just teed themselves up for that.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you 100%. Let's just play the game, unless you're flipping somebody the bird. Come on, guys. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, let's play the game. But Billy Liucci from Texas, tell everybody where they can find you. By the way, you got to be a great GM. You got to sign great players. David Nuno, you signed an all-star there, my friend.
I've always wanted to hire him out of Houston. I didn't think I could. Channel 13, such an incredible. I mean, it's top 5 news market in the country, and they're I've grown up watching Channel 13 News and some legends there. So I didn't think we could do it. His love for A&M, his desire to move to College Station and get his family up there, we were able to pull it off.
Yeah. Well, congrats on all the success. You can find it at TexAgs. Billy, I really appreciate it, brother. I'm sure we'll talk later. Thank you, guys. Make sure you go to jboyshow.com, subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube as well. Got some more great content coming at you from Radio Row. The only way to win the water cooler. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another segment of the Jboy Show. We're really excited to have one of the best D linemen in the SEC, Mr. Akil Byers, with us right now. Akil, what's up, man? You are looking fly. You got the matching tie with the tag and the suit, man. I appreciate you taking some time.
Yes, sir. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. How excited are you getting to the season? I had Coach Drink on. We released that one on Thursday morning, and he's fired up. And you know Coach Drink, he's going to say what he thinks. I know you're fired up, too.
Yes, sir. I am. I can't wait.
Definitely. What's your favorite part about playing the D-line? I mean, you put your hands on people, pass rushing. I know everybody loves pass rushing, get sacks and all that stuff, but, the way you're able to move, man, and change direction. But what's your favorite part of it?
My favorite part is just dominating the man in front of me, honestly. You can't do that outside of football without, having other problems. So just being able to do that without no problems is a given,
Yeah. Hey, how is it with Coach Drinkwich going into this next year? Because, again, you get another year with the guy. You get to know him even better. Now you get to go through a spring, go through a summer. And Akil, I don't think a lot of fans realize the spring and the summer is when the team's really built together.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's you said that completely right. I think that Coach Drink, leading into his second season, he's leading it straight hitting it straight on,
Yeah.
So.
Well, too, and again, you guys, I know defensively, losing Nick Bolton, but y'all returned some guys, and everybody talks about Coach Drink and the offense, but I know over there in Como, y'all getting that defense right. How excited are you to just get out there and hit somebody in front of I don't want to jinx it, full capacity stadium?
Right. I'm truly excited. We got a new DC. The new D-line coach, so with those guys and with the level that they have coached at, it means a lot, and they have a lot of knowledge to bring to the table. So with us having a new defense, we've been working day by day. Even on off days we come in, defense gets together and meet up. So what that says about a defense. Like the closer you are, the more you're gonna work together, play together. So us playing together, coming together, being closer, is good.
Yeah. My last question for you before I let you go, I know you're a busy man. What does it mean to you to be playing in the best conference in the country at a time where, it's about as loaded as it's been, to be able to say for the rest of your life, I play D-line in the SEC regardless of what happens after?
SEC, it just means more. It means a lot more, man. I knew I was gonna want to play in the SEC out of high school. I didn't look nowhere else besides the SEC because I feel like it's just bigger challenges you face. So I accepted those challenges, and
Yeah, and obviously you're doing something right. Got picked to come here in media days, a leader on a defense that's ready. Missouri, I'm telling you, watch out for them. Like Coach Drink said, they're not afraid to play anybody, anywhere, at any time. Akil, good luck to you, man. You got a heck of a career in front of you. Really respect your game, brother. Let's do this again sometime.
Let's get it.
All right, make sure y'all go to jboyshow.com, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify. Next time, I'm going to try and get a suit as good as Akil's. But until then, you're winning the water cooler, baby. We'll talk later. Hello, everybody. We're back in Radio Row, the last day of Media Days. We're here on Thursday and excited to be joined by a guy I have a ton of respect for, have listened to, the voice of the Auburn Tigers, Mr. Andy Burcham. Andy, it's always so great to see you, my friend.
Very glad to be with you today, Jake. I knew Jake when he was quite younger, but excited for what you've done with your career, and good to be with you today.
Well, Andy, coming from you, man, you know how much that means, and one of the best people in the world, and we'll talk some Auburn football, I guess. With Brian Harsin coming to Media Days, and this is telling us, the season's right around us. What are some things you're looking at year one, just, off the field from Brian Harsin? We see the team right now looks pretty together. Looks like there's a bunch of accountability. What are some things you're looking at just off the field early?
Consider this, his first year as Auburn's coach. It's announced literally on Christmas Eve, okay?
Yeah, that's true.
He gets to campus in the midst of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't meet the players' families, his current players' families, until A-Day.
Yeah.
He doesn't bring fans or he doesn't bring recruits to campus until June 1. That's year number one in his regime. And now it's kind of starting to get to normal, you know?
Finally.
I talked to him today and he said, yeah, I said, what was Media Days like for you at Boise State? He said, well, it was like the last bit before fall ball.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way he's looking at it, All the preliminaries are about done.
Yeah.
It's about time to get to practice and get ready for this season.
Man, and Andy, that's, we've been saying it. I'm really excited to see it. And Bo Nix is obviously going to be a guy that a lot of people talk about. And Mike Bobo has done such an unbelievable job with quarterbacks throughout his track record. Led the conference in passing out in the Mountain West for 2 years, then came to South Carolina, really adjusted to his personnel. I think Auburn's going to be under center a lot this year. And it looked like Bo handled it pretty well in the spring.
We were asked, we did an event yesterday. Coach Harsin and I did an event yesterday with the Birmingham Rotary Club.
Oh, nice.
And he was asked about, one of the gentlemen there asked him about the offense and how now everyone goes to the spread and everybody's, in the shotgun all the time. And Coach Harsin said, we're going to go back under center. And it's not just out of the sugar huddle on 4th and 1.
Exactly.
It will be to run the offense. It will be to run the play action. It will be to get Tank Bigsby downhill. So that's going to be a little bit different for Auburn fans to see because, since Tommy Tuberville was here, most of the time, all the time, everybody was out of the shotgun. Now that will still happen, but I think we will see Bo under center.
Yeah, and Brian Coach Hart's done such a good job formationally in his past. Going to remind of 2004 a little bit, maybe a little gorgeous Al Borges going under center, getting some G-toss and stuff like that. But, Andy, another thing we talk about Tank Bigsby. And we've seen at Auburn some of the best running backs ever. You've seen some of the best ever. This kid, in my opinion, has a chance to be unbelievably special in year two, even though it's a new system. A lot of zone scheme runs in A-Day. Where does Tank right now going into year two? Just your thoughts on him and his overall ability, because, Andy, you know as well as I do, the kid's pretty special.
He is vital to this offense. Staying healthy is vital to this offense. He is going to be featured in this offense, as he should. I think when folks asked us last year, who does Tank remind you of? He reminds me of the guy that's his position coach a little bit in Carnell Williams.
Great call.
And probably has a little more of a physical game than Carnell did at the time. He's a special player. He's a special player for Auburn. And Coach Harsin knows that he's a special player. And I think he is going to be featured prominently in this offense.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I can't wait to see my last question. We're here with Andy Burcham, voice of the Auburn Tigers. I'm going to let him plug his podcast, too, which is so good. It's so good. Come from a guy that does a podcast. It's an unbelievable podcast, especially if you're an Auburn fan. You need to check it out. This year in the SEC, when you look at the SEC West, Alabama and is not going to be, it looks like, as elite as they were last year offensively, just because it's going to be hard to replicate that. I could say the same thing about Florida. But if you look at the top to the bottom in the SEC West, it is about as deep, Andy, as I've seen in a while. There is not a cakewalk in that side. Not to take anything away from the East, but there are no free gimmies on Saturdays in the West.
You take a look at Alabama, and they're the defending national champs. All right, they ran the table. A&M took a huge step forward a year ago. You know LSU is going to be better than it was a year ago. Ole Miss is explosive offensively. If they get a defense, watch out. I think Mississippi State will be better. Arkansas certainly will be better. And you look at those 3 games a year ago, at Ole Miss, at Mississippi State, and home against Arkansas. Auburn won all 3. Auburn could have lost all 3 of those ball games as well. And then there's this Auburn ball club that's probably going to be picked in the bottom half of the SEC West. Jake, you know this as well as anyone, considering your history at Auburn. In the last 30 years, Auburn's teams have been best when people didn't give them a chance to win.
So correct.
And I think this year a lot of people will overlook Auburn, and perhaps for good reason. But this is also the type of year where Auburn surprises a lot of people, and I hope that's the case.
Yeah, truer words have never been spoken. It's always an honor to talk to you, Andy. You do such an unbelievable job. The voice of the Auburn Tigers. Tell everybody where they can find your podcast as well.
You can go to auburntigers.com. We do a weekly podcast, the Talking Tigers podcast, and talk to Auburn people, not just former athletes, coaches, folks that are around Auburn, young and old alike. Really have a good time at times getting to know these folks and letting them tell their Auburn story.
Definitely. Well, everybody check that out. Got to give you a hug, man. It's so good to see you. Make sure you go to jboyshow.com, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify as well. We're out here trying to win the water cooler, and Andy Burcham's helping us. We'll be back soon.
The Jboy Show is produced by David Cohn, Technical Director Dave Hammock, Creative Director David Culbertson, Audio Engineer Feyzan Shareef, Production Assistants Blain, Crain, and Kyle Orr, Executive Producers Jake Crain, Vince Thompson, Steve Chamberlain, and David Cohn. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit our website, thejboyshow.com, for updates regarding our newest apparel and merch designs. Win the water cooler with the Jboy Show.